We are expecting a bold new look at the way policy is going to facilitate India stepping into the next generation. This is a very exciting prospect which is before this country of a new telecom policy at this time, because of certain remarkable changes that have happened in the last few years since the last policy was made. And last policy was made in 2012. But in 1999, the world-class NTP 99 was made in a very similar way to what we're going to do now, which is in a very transparent way, a consultative way. So this is going to be a great thing, and for the first time you're going to see a policy, a telecom policy, which is going to go beyond telecom. Because today telecom is transformed. As you're all seeing it, in the last time of the last policy, we were not talking about apps, we were not talking about OTT, we were not talking about things like that. Today, entire ecosystem has changed because of smartphones, because of internet connectivity, broadband requirement, apps, the play of apps and innovations. So the new telecom policy is going to be, in my opinion, something of a very big path-breaking device which is going to happen, incorporating all these new things which are in the horizon. The environment, the ecosystem has changed. It is not only about telecom, about carriage now or carrier, telecom carrier thing. It's gone beyond that. There is a big universe of players, whether they are apps, development, innovation, they're all happening. So telecom has to embrace all that. So regulation has to take cognizance of that, which it did not have to earlier. So regulation has to adapt itself to create a holistic universe, which is dependent on telecom as a backbone, but which flourishes because of the innovations and apps. So the usage is completely changed, and regulation has to take cognizance of that and encourage such innovations and growth of these innovations. It also needs to address many of the challenges which are there before the telcos for creating the backbone on which the apps, everything will ride. Because the growth of telecom infrastructure is getting stifled or inhibited by certain factors, which are regulatory challenges. One is the need for more and more of the right quality spectrum. That's very, very important. And number two, the ability to roll out digital infrastructure by way of OFC, towers, etc. on the ground. That's not happening. And there are hurdles to that. Regulation has to take care of that. Policymaker has to take care of that. Third, and not the least, this is one of the most important, the telecom regulator and the telecom policymaker have to take cognizance of the very significant role that satellite communications can play for India. In India, one of our biggest challenges is being a very diverse country. Diversity is enormous, and 70% of India resides in the rural areas, remote areas, not accessible. For years we are talking about rolling out fiber or coaxial to those areas, not happening because there are very big difficulties in doing that. It's not cost effective also. But what is available readily are satellite bandwidth. Today satellite bandwidth is going waste all over India. You can tap that immediately to serve the rural countryside, and everybody would get broadband there. It's not happened. Why? I think we need to address that challenge. We have to make it happen in this new policy. The new policy has to create an environment which makes satellite communications an immediately available solution for meeting our rural brethren's requirement of connectivity and broadband. I think these are some of the big things before us. Telecom should not be seen as a means of bridging the fiscal deficit. It should not be seen as a direct revenue spinner through auctions and license fees. What telecom gets you, the country, the nation and the consumer, the Aam Aadmi, is the fact that it gives millions of benefits, indirect benefits, which increase productivity, which improve economy. Everyone knows that every 10% increase in broadband penetration gives 1.39% increase in GDP growth. That's a stupendous GDP growth. Why are we denying the common man that? So these are things, but by imposing auction, high auction fees, license fees, spectrum usage charges, what you're actually doing is you're leaving less money with the operators for rolling out the network. The consumer gets benefit only if the network is rolled out. Otherwise, there's no benefit to him. But to make him roll out, you must put maximum money in that area. And India already the resources are limited. So the available resources have to be diverted or channelized into creation of infrastructure, digital infrastructure, for which you need spectrum, for you need towers, you need OFC rollout. So that's where our priority should be, not in milking the sector dry through revenues. We are doing a lot of harm to the population, the economy by doing that. So this is a policy viewpoint you have to take in this new policy. And then you must implement, therefore, a policy which does not talk of reduction of levies and duties. No, that's absolutely the wrong way. You should be talking of saying that the telecom, whatever is the cost of administration and regulating the sector, government should not go out of pocket in encouraging telecom, but it should not milk it dry. So what's the balance? The answer found in enlightened regimes like Europe or elsewhere. The license fee charged will only be enough to cover the cost of administering and regulating the sector. That is cost of running DOT, cost of running TRAI. And that will come to a fraction of a percentage of. Actually, the first regulator, Justice Sodhi, Chairman TRAI, he determined in 1998 or 1997, he found that 0.18% of the revenue is enough to cover the cost of regulating and administrating. That was then. At that time, the revenues were very little. Today, revenues are hundreds of times more. So that fraction would have gone down even further. So you take from the sector that cost, which will be a fraction of a percentage for license fee and for spectrum. Allow them to use their money for rolling out the network. And you should take conditions, impose conditions on them for rolling out the network, for making investment, for default liquidated damages if they don't do it. That you should do. But the benefit to the consumer must happen through rollout of network. That's a philosophy which the new telecom policy should take. Here again, we need to take a very fresh look at the whole thing. We were all getting very enthused by so many handset manufacturing units having come up, 40 or 48. But what is the reality today? Half of them are in serious trouble and folding up. And you are seeing every day Chinese manufacturers growing in strength. So what we need for Make in India is not just an assembly of phone parts from outside. We have to invest in genuine manufacture here, and we have to invest seriously in R&D, because it's a very fast, very dynamic sector, the smartphone industry. And unless they keep investing seriously into R&D, they will not be able to innovate and come out with better and better smartphones. Better and better chipsets are required. So the view on smartphone manufacture would be to how to get maximum value addition within the country by investing in R&D. And this policy has to look at that. We from Broadband India Forum have had a serious look at this, and we have come up with recommendations also which have been submitted to government. We will be expanding on that in our submissions to government. Policy said last time also, not yet implemented fully. Regulator is fully seized of this. Is running a consultation which we support and applaud that. We are giving inputs. You are very right. See, In India today, it is generally said that, oh, wireless broadband, mobile broadband, very difficult to specify minimum speed, which is right. Technically, there are challenges in that. And because of the spectrum and variability inherent in the process, you can't specify minimum. That's what is generally said by experts. But I don't accept that, because I think we have to change. In India, 95% are on mobile. Broadband will not happen through wired. So if you have got a specification for minimum speed for wired broadband, that is not going to help the common man. 95% are on mobile, on wireless. So we have to find a solution for them. And I'm sure Indians, we have got ways and means of doing it. We have to innovate here. How to do it? This TRI consultation is going to be interesting to watch, because inputs will be going there. And I think we need to find that answer. This policy should address this, of the requirement of minimum speed, because without speed, broadband is nothing. You cannot, if you're going to take ages to download a film or ages to download a textbook, you're not going to be with that. So you have to have good speed, and you have to find a way of ensuring that quality. That's a challenge before us, which this policy, together with the regulator, will need to address. Money is limited. In India, capital is limited. That's a given. When resources are limited, you have to find the optimal use for that. Now, if the government is imposing a high license fee on me, and if I have to bid and pay high spectrum charges, spectrum upfront fee, you may say it's transparent. The auction is transparent, open. If you have bid high, it's your problem. You may say that, but that is wrong. Auctions can be designed for any end result. And we will be coming out with a research paper from Broadband India Forum, which is going to highlight some of these aspects. Spectrum has to be affordably given to the market. And you cannot go on charging on top of that. There must be enough resources left to the operator. You think the operators don't want to roll out network? They want to. But there are challenges. There are challenges in right of way. There are challenges in putting up a tower. There are challenges in raising money. So we should look at that. And once you address these, you will be able to get enough infrastructure through which the apps can ride, data can grow, all the things, development can happen. Because all this is the basis of development. DOT has got an M2M roadmap. I am sure those have to be considered in putting together a policy framework for growing this sector. Because IoT has got much more benefits for India than other countries. Because our infrastructure is so deficient that once you have IoT, you can overcome many of the challenges of infrastructure. So if we handle it right through standards and through policies facilitating growth, I'm sure we'll be a winner in this.